Good evening. My name is Kelly Olmstead, and I'm the president of the Ramsey County Bar Foundation. The Bar Foundation is the charitable arm of our Ramsey County Bar Association. It provides grants to law-related charitable organizations that provide services to the neediest in our community. The money we raise for the foundation allows SMRLS lawyers to help low-income families stay in safe housing in St. Paul. It allows Children's Law Center attorneys to represent children in foster care. And it supports Tubman, providing emergency legal services to families that are escaping domestic violence. I could give examples from many more organizations and thousands more people that the foundation has helped. But instead, I'd like you to hear directly from some of them and how your donations have changed their lives.
When I was introduced to Daryl, he was homeless, and he had been admitted to a housing authority program where he was able to secure housing. Unfortunately, there was an information gap in his application that caused the housing authority to revoke his status. I was introduced through the volunteer program to work with Daryl, and we were able to work with the housing authority to clarify his application materials and his status, and he was able to once again get approved for housing through the housing authority and not be homeless.
When I got the denial letter, I immediately called SMRLS. Without the help of Carol and Dan, I would still be homeless. After I was off of Section 8, I had to go to Dorothy Day, which I was unfamiliar with, and I had to sleep with people that I didn't really, never had been through this situation. It was horrible. October, November, and December. It was a very horrible experience.
Daryl was homeless. He has some health issues, and it was just a privilege to work with him to get back the authorization and the housing he much needed and much deserved.
SMRLS and Dan and Carol, they kept giving me confidence. Don't give up. And that's where I appreciate, and that's why I'm here.
So being a refugee of war from Vietnam, it's just a privilege to be able to help people who really need help, because my family received that much needed help when we first arrived.
Julie first contacted me when she had received an assessment for personal care services. She's receiving services to keep her home in the community instead of being in a long-term care facility. Her assessment was not accurate, and her hours had been dramatically cut.
I require personal care attendants for help with personal needs. I don't have the ability to use my hands, and so I require a lot of personal hygiene needs, help with dietary needs, and all of those activities of daily living that people just go about. I need assistance with all of those.
Julie had been incorrectly assessed and had not been given any complex health-related needs. The evidence showed that she actually has 3 complex health-related needs, and that made a huge difference in the amount of time that she was given.
You know, living in my own apartment is absolutely essential for my life for as long as I possibly can, because I've been fiercely independent my entire life. I feel like I'm a pretty capable person, but this was beyond my ability. I could not have processed this without the help of an attorney, and that's why SMRLS is so essential, particularly to those people who, like myself, who don't have the financial ability any longer to go out and hire an attorney to do this.
I've been with the SMRLS Legal Services for 33 years. I have been doing this kind of work at Legal Aid for 35. I've worked with seniors, and this is the reason that I am a lawyer. This was extremely important to Julie. It allows her to stay in her home, to stay in the community, If I hadn't been able to help her, she would have been forced to move into long-term care because she could not possibly stay in the community with only 6 hours and 15 minutes. We were able to get her 10.5 hours of care, and she is happy and staying in her home.
About 28 years ago, my boss grabbed me by the collar. I was a clerk and said, "Come on, we're going to go do something good." And I've been going to SMRLS ever since. It has been the most continuous involvement in the legal community I've had, and it's been one of the most rewarding. And I do it a couple times a year, and it makes me happy every time. Well, again, it's just getting involved with Mr. Witt was just part of my normal intake process. It was a little different because he couldn't come in. As the story is, he couldn't drive as a result of the accident. So I talked to him on the phone, and our entire interaction was by the phone. But right away, it was obviously a compelling case, and I knew I wanted to help him.
Well, consequently, I took my truck in on a Tuesday to a shop to have the oil change done on it. They called me 2 o'clock the next day with an apology that they totaled my truck. The manager driving the truck at the time said he'd stepped on the pedal, something happened, it went straight to the floor, right through the air doors, right up a ramp, and airborne into a truckload of tires. And I didn't know where to turn because I don't have money to hire an attorney. So SMRLS, I contacted them, and they said this gentleman could help me out.
Well, first of all, Mr. Witt was great to work with. He was what you'd want in a client. He was responsive and positive and terrific. We set some goals of what they were offering versus what we wanted to be at, and our goal was really much more modest before we started the lawsuit, but once we sued him, we were more aggressive.
The shop was great to deal with. The insurance company, they did not want to work with us.
Fortunately, we went from dealing with the insurance company to dealing with a really great Ramsey County, terrific lawyer representing the insurance company. And she and I were very quickly able to come to a resolution that was almost twice what Mr. Witt and I were originally talking with the insurer. So it ended up being a great result for him. And it was really because we had a great lawyer on the other side that helped get us resolved.
It's important because, like I said, society needs to learn to give back a little bit. SMRLS was there to help. Everybody needs to understand that. They're wonderful people. They're willing to help you, especially like a situation like mine, handicapped, elderly, and they were there to help me.
Thank you so much for coming tonight and supporting the foundation and all of the organizations it serves. I hope you keep the stories you've heard in mind as you decide how much you can give to help the neediest among us.